Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Kaye here in Tennessee, and this is a follow-up to my last video, which I literally dashed off. I was hot and sweaty, and I was ready for a shower, and I saw this food label, these ingredients on a package of processed cookies, and I had to bring that to your attention. I didn't even really realize what chemical I was talking about until I was filming, and that's why I put it on the screen. I think some people miss that, but I put what this sugar alcohol is on the screen. Now, I stopped eating processed food for the most part 25 years ago or so. You know, when my son was diagnosed with asthma, I had to get rid of everything, and we got a very clean diet and got rid of all the, you'll hear this story repeatedly from any parent who gets a child who's diagnosed with asthma. You get rid of the carpets, and you put covers around the mattresses and covers around the pillows, and to keep out the dust mites, and air purifiers to keep down the dust, and all these things trigger asthma attacks. So, I've been savvy since 2000. Same year my father died of cancer. Same year a friend of mine died of cancer. And I really started cluing in to all of this stuff. Well, it's much worse now because the food industry has just gone totally, let's just say, chemical. And I got an education from, this morning I was sitting here at 5:30 a.m. reading comments from my video, and I was being educated because a lot of people who either had a family member or themselves have a reaction to these sugar alcohols, which they put in processed foods in place of sugar. It's a sugar replacement. Anytime you see zero sugar, you've got to read the back, especially if you're diabetic, because I heard numerous reports from people, and if you're someone like that, I'll put the link underneath the video for the last video where you can also see, the comments and maybe compare your experience with their experience. But many people have had negative experiences from these sugar alcohols, namely the one in the video was maltitol, M-A-L-T-I-T-O-L, but there are many sugar alcohols. I'm learning. So anyway, as I'm reading these comments, I got a comment from a man in UK. Well, actually, I got two comments from UK, and they were saying that the food labeling in UK is better, they think, generally than in the US. But I also got a comment from Canada saying that it was worse up there than it is here in terms of the labeling of food. So let's see if I can get back to I was opening so many tabs. So I got another second comment from the UK, and it said, this is from Joan, in the UK we have Bovaer, I think I'm saying that right, B-O-V-A-E-R, and I'm sure you've heard that. I've heard it. I haven't been paying attention to it because I try not to eat mass-produced meat, from the industrial meat market, so to speak. And so she said in the UK we have Bovaer fed to cows and comes down the line to dairy foods. Don't know if you have this in the US. And then someone replied to her and said, in Australia, Coles, C-O-L-E-S, is using this Bovaer in their meats and milks. She switched to Aldi's meat and Devondale milk, not the Coles contaminated stuff now. And then others, they seem to use technology to poison our food rather than make it safer sometimes. And yeah, what about the crickets in food? And I've talked about cricket meal being used in all, as a replacement for certain kinds of wheat flour Anyway, they're making flour out of crickets, okay? And it's called Acheta, A-C-H-E-T-A flour. You know, I kind of went down the cricket rabbit hole. I didn't make a video about it because so many people were talking about it. But there's the chitin, I think it's C-H-I-T-I-N. The chitin in crickets is actually detrimental to humans. But they're doing it anyway. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So I thought, I didn't know enough about Bovaer, so I thought, let me look it up. And I'm reading here, this is actually from Newsweek. If you don't know about it, it's a cow feed additive given to cows to reduce methane. Now, if you go down the methane rabbit hole, I mean, that's a whole day of research, but you know, that's the thing that they've been complaining about that's contributing to the negative aspects of the climate for decades now. Well, at least 2 decades they've been complaining about all the methane. Well, guess what? Regenerative cows that are out in the field that are getting moved from pasture to pasture and are not sitting in feedlots don't create these copious amounts of methane that the ones in the, you know, that are industrially produced and go to feedlots and all of that. So there's that. So once again, I know it's expensive, but once again, I recommend going to farmers markets, getting to know your farmer who produces the meat that you're putting into your body. All we have is our health, right? When our health really goes south, then it's sort of like being pregnant. You know, everything goes on hold in your life until you get your health problems sorted out. I remember, and of course being pregnant is a wonderful thing. Being sick is not a wonderful thing. But I just remember this, I always told myself, you know, it takes as long as it takes. That was my phrase for when I had my one baby. And you know, it takes as long as it takes to put them down for a nap, to nurse, to get them quiet, to get them ready to go to sleep. And it just takes as long as it takes. You can't put that on a schedule. Okay, I've got 30 minutes assigned for the putting down of my baby to go to sleep. No, it takes as long as it takes. And the same thing is true with your health. Everything, it's all hands on deck. When you're pregnant and when you're sick, you know. So according to, in December, the FDA is trialing it, and so it has been given the green light by the FDA in the US for reducing methane emissions, but it's facing a battle for public acceptance. That's where we come in. We don't accept the products that have that in it. The FDA ruled, we have no questions at this time regarding whether Bovaer will achieve its intended effect and is expected to pose low risk. It's expected to pose low risk to humans, but they don't know. They don't know long term what kind of risk it'll be because it's brand new, and they're going to throw it out there and say, okay, we don't think this is going to hurt you, okay? Just drink it, you know. That's according to the safety of the food from animals treated with the product. However, the farm workers that handle the product are at risk. They already have 150 farms enrolled, and this firm, you know, but it says it will likely face an uphill battle to convince consumers that it's safe. So that's where we come in. Okay, we fight back. We don't accept it. We don't buy it. Here we go. Bovaer is made using silicon dioxide. That's the first ingredient. I haven't looked up silicon dioxide, but obviously dioxide, that's 2 oxides out of silicons, two oxides of silicon. And then you guessed it, propylene glycol. Have you ever gone down the propylene glycol rabbit hole? No? Well, let me just tell you. And it also has organic compound 3-nitrooxypropanol, known as 3-NOP, which prompted the UK Food Standards Agency warning last year. So those are the 3 ingredients. And you think, ooh, 3 chemicals in my dairy that don't really need to be there, whose intention is to keep the cows from farting. From, passing gas. And so now it's going to be in all the dairy products all over the world if we don't push back. In terms of the propylene glycol, it is, I think it's considered an emulsifier. Although at PubChem, it doesn't say that right off the top. This is the National Library of Medicine at NIH. You've heard of NIH, I'm sure. And this is PubChem, their website. And propylene glycol is obviously a compound. And it's a synthetic liquid substance that absorbs water. It's also used to make polyester compounds. I guess that means to make anything made out of polyester, from clothing to plastics. And as a base for dicing solutions. I have no idea what that means. It's used by the chemical, food, and pharmaceutical industries as an antifreeze. Okay. When leakage might lead to contact with food. So the Food and Drug FDA has classified propylene glycol as an additive that is generally recognized as safe, unquote, for use in food. It is, the thing is, we consume pharmaceuticals. We're not eating them like food, but they still go in our body when we take a pill or a cream, right? So when I first, it was about 10 years ago, I said, well, there's propylene glycol in my, I don't know if it was 10 years ago, but anyway, women after menopause often use hormonal creams or pills or insert tabs, I should say. It's a tablet that you insert, just like you would insert a cream. And women often use these after menopause. Okay, so I just noticed on the label of the cream that it said propylene glycol. And I thought, gosh. So I said, I don't really want propylene, but it's in makeup, it's in pharmaceuticals, and now it's going to be in Bovaer, if we accept the dairy products. So I called up, at the time, now we just, go to the computer for everything, the internet for everything, but at the time I called up the pharmacist, and I said, well, is it in the tabs? Because, I said, what is it? She said, well, it's like an emulsifier. Okay, well, they have emulsifiers in candy. Because after I did that video, I thought, somebody had given me 2 boxes of candy in there, which Denora and I are snacking on. And I thought, even though I was born on Valentine's Day, I never liked candy. I didn't want that sugary thing right in my mouth, and so, but we've been snacking on those because we've been working hard and we got to keep going, right? So I look on there, and C's Candy, which has been around forever, has 3 chemicals listed in their emulsifiers in their candy. And so it didn't list propylene glycol, but it had 3 other chemicals. So I asked the pharmacist, is it also in a tablet? If it's more of an emulsifier, you think that's a cream thing, it keeps it creamy or whatever, holds it together or something. And she said, oh yeah. She said, oh yeah, it's in all the tablets and everything. And she didn't have this blanket statement that it's in every pharmaceutical drug, but it sounded like it was extremely common. And if you start looking at makeup, and very often makeup will not have all the ingredients. You know, you buy a tube of skin cream and it won't have all the ingredients that's in there. There's a wonderful website. I'm going to put the name on the screen because I used to go to it all the time. And it slipped my mind at the moment, but I just thought I should mention it. But watch the screen. I'm going to put the name there. And you can go there, and most of the cosmetics, sunscreens, shampoos, all that kind of thing are on there, and it has a rating system as to whether it's, considered okay to use or really not okay to use because of all the bad stuff in it. So I encourage you to look at that, and I also encourage you to do your own research. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person trying to pass along some good information to get you to do your own research. And I just am stunned at all of the comments that this video, which I literally just dashed off, and many people reported, especially diabetics, that they cannot eat the sugar, alcohols. So if you take out the sugar in these processed foods, then you've got to replace it with something that's sweet. And so they have come up with all of these sugar alcohols to replace sugar, to make it taste sweet without you actually getting the calories. But pure cane sugar that hasn't been desiccated or sprayed, according to Dr. Joel Wallik, who I mentioned to you a few months ago, and I highly recommend that you search out his speeches online, because people who are lambasted, censored, trashed, deplatformed, all of those words that happen to people who speak out, all of that happened to him 25 years ago, but he just kept going. It did not stop him. And he said many of the cures, or I should say corrections for many of the diseases, are just easily made with corrections to the 90 essential nutrients, some of which may be missing in your diet. And so, well, it's not in the food anymore, and a human being needs 90. And he was talking about, at the time, that was 25 years ago, baby food only had 12 added nutrients in formula, baby formula. Whereas a healthy mother's giving 90 essential nutrients to their baby through nursing. If you're not able to nurse, then today I'm sure you can find something healthier than the baby formula that was available 25 years ago. I think I used it for a couple of weeks just to supplement with my baby, and it's just like this sort of this beige liquid, and you just go, ooh, what is that, Did the millions of buffalo in the 19th century in the US create methane? Let's see, bison in North America are thought to have been responsible for some 2.2 TGYR of the 9 to 15 TGYR of pre-industrial enteric methane emissions. So all those millions of buffalo, how do the millions of buffalo compare to the millions, wait, that's not a good,
I found this on the web.
From 30 million to 325 in 1884. They killed them all. We now have 500,000 today, so because they built it back up. About the majestic American bison, genocide and recovery. That should be interesting. 15 facts about our national mammal, the American bison. How many beef cattle are there in America today? The inventory is the smallest in 73 years. The inventory of all U.S. beef cattle on January 1st, 2024 was 28 million head. Okay, this is just a very quick, I'm not a scientist, but this is just a very quick Okay, so if, what was it, 300 million? The flatlands of the middle of our country are where the bison, every year they would graze all the way down and all the way back up. And all those 300 million times 4, 1.2 billion hooves digging up that whole middle of our country. That's how that soil became so rich, you know, and became our America's heartland, our breadbasket. So cattle still serve that purpose today as well as bison. And you just heard that our bison herds have been replenished. I mean, they decimated our bison, and that's a whole thing to go down. Why on earth would they do that? You have to look that up. The point is, why are the cows causing so much methane? And how does all that methane compare to all the other toxic things we do to the atmosphere, like sending up rockets and wars, dropping bombs, burning forests? I mean, how does all that compare? You know, they go, well, this is something we can control, and we can control it with a chemical. So, hey, we get rich, and the consumers just have to consume one more chemical. What's the big deal? Well, it's actually 3, but, you know, propylene glycol is in there, the second one listed. So, anyway, just food for thought. Do your own research. Love you. Anyway, I hope I've encouraged you to think about all these things, because we have to take charge of our health. Our health is all we have to fight back against all of these things. So God bless you, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. Just click that bell and scroll down and click all so you won't miss an episode. And we'll be back in the garden soon. I hope to get this up right away, and I hope to make you aware of this Bovaer. And we need to push back on these products. Read labels. Don't just read the front, read the back. And don't just do that on food, but also do it on pharmaceuticals. Okay, we'll see you next time.